The housing market of 2021 is unlike any other market we've seen. Homes are selling for more than anyone imagined. And sometimes sellers are getting 20 plus offers on their home. And buyers are practically giving up their first child just to win a bidding war on a home. So what can you do to make your offer competitive? Stay tuned. If you or someone you know has been trying to buy a house in 2021, you know that that's no easy feat. Sellers are receiving 20 plus offers on their home, which means at least 19 other people are being turned away to try to find a different house. So what do these offers have that you don't? The first and maybe the most obvious way to stand out among the crowd when making an offer is to offer more on your purchase price than what the sellers are asking for. Lean on your agent and their expertise to tell you what they believe is the max value of the house. What are the neighborhood trends like? How much are homes selling for versus how much were the sellers originally asking for them? Is there any room for you to make improvements to the house to increase the value of the home over time? In this market, we're seeing a lot of homes that are actually appraising for the contract price. Now, as long as it's still within reason. This is definitely an important conversation to have with your agent and with your lender, because if you offer to pay, let's say $15,000 over the asking price, there's still a chance that you may have to pay that much out of pocket if the appraisal doesn't match your offer. Now, sure, there are some ways around this, but buyers are sometimes removing that contingency to reduce the sales price if the appraisal doesn't match. Another common step that buyers are taking to be competitive is to offer to purchase the home without asking the sellers to make repairs on any defective items in the home. Now, I always recommend to my buyers to at minimum perform the inspections so that they know what they're buying. But sometimes my clients feel comfortable enough with the results that they don't feel that they need to ask the sellers for any repairs. Now, this is great in the eyes of the seller because they know that they won't have to hire contractors to come out and fix something. They aren't going to be out the cost of the time or the effort of making those arrangements. Removing the option to ask for repairs is absolutely based on how comfortable you feel with fixing any problems that may come up. There are still some creative ways to include the chance to ask for repairs while still being competitive about those limits. Some buyers who have a little more cash flexibility may also be able to agree to pay a certain amount over an appraised value price. For example, if you offered to purchase a home at $200,000 and it appraises at $190,000, but you also agreed to pay $5,000 over that appraisal price, the new contract price would be $195,000. Now, this could still put you $5,000 ahead of another buyer who is only able to pay that appraised price. Now, again, this totally depends on how much cash you have available. Remember, a loan can only go as high as the lower number between the sales price and the appraisal price. If you're a first-time buyer, you might be in a better place than someone who needs to sell their house in order to buy a new one. Being able to close when it's convenient for the sellers might be huge right now. And an even bigger bonus that I consider my secret weapon is to offer to allow the sellers to keep possession of the house for a day or two after closing so they can move out all of their stuff after they get the keys to their new house. Sometimes this makes a difference, other times not so much. It's worth your agent calling to ask though. If you do need to sell your house before you can buy a new one, you have a couple options. There's always the option to include the contingency that you have to sell in order to buy. While this isn't always an ideal situation for the seller, your other terms may make it worth their while. They are likely doing the same thing, so there are some sympathetic people out there. Another option is to sell your current house and find some temporary housing. You may be able to find a rental unit that would allow a short-term or maybe even a month-to-month rental agreement until you find and close on your new home. Living with our parents doesn't seem quite so bad under these circumstances. There are still a few other creative financial options out there, but those require much more conversation than just watching this video. I'd be happy to connect you with some people who might be able to help you find a way around the traditional routes, though. One of the more risky options that some buyers are taking is actually to remove the contingency for financing. Now, what that means is that they're agreeing to purchase the house, even if their financial situation changes. For most people, this purchase is a very sure thing and they don't feel nervous about their ability to buy. But for some buyers, this may not be a comfortable thing. From a seller's perspective, they're almost guaranteeing a closed deal, so this is pretty attractive to a lot of sellers. Now, I must say that these aren't a one-size-fits-all approach. While I've used all of these in some capacity, I've never used all of them with any individual client. Each client is unique and has different levels of comfort. One of the most important steps that I take with my clients is to sit down and really understand where they are and how I can best serve them through this process. And that means asking a lot of questions. If you're thinking about buying a home, please, let's have a conversation. There are so many ways that we can get creative to win a bid, so let's find the best way for you. Send me a text, shoot me an email, or even send some smoke signals. But let's get talking.